All right, man. So this is probably the last video I'm gonna do on Rogan and his cock holsters. You know what I mean? Just because, to be honest, I do these for fun. I love to watch these guys. I don't know the word implode. You know what I mean? I love watching the snake eat its own fucking tail. You know what I mean? I love watching them lie. I love like all podcasters, okay? Like there's not a single comedy podcast that I watch to like laugh at and enjoy like in the regular way. Like I like listening to it and picking up on the little intricacies in their in their little weird ways, because that's really what's interesting to me. That's what's really funny to me. It's not their dick jokes that took 20 years to get any laughs. You know what I mean? I don't think any of these guys are funny. Rogan's not fucking funny. Callen's not funny. So everyone who was in my last video defending Callen, Brendan Schaub, I wish you the best. You know what I mean? I wish you the best. I wish you all the luck because you need it. You know what I mean? You're so impressionable at your big age that it's just fucking pathetic. I'll say that. And saying, "Oh, I'm a coward because I'm not choosing left or right because I'm not being manipulated." You know what I mean? By the MK Ultra put out by the media. You guys are insane, guys. Okay, everyone who was like, there was one guy in my last comments who ended up like deleting this shit. He said some shit like, "Oh, you're all subhuman. We're tired of dealing with y'all." And sure, you know what I mean? You can feel however you want to feel, but you're talking to the wrong guy. And also, like, the real cowards aren't people like me who refuse to choose sides because I actually understand how this shit works. Because I understand that 99% of the shit that politicians do is to manipulate you emotionally. Because I understand that and don't choose sides. I'm a coward. The real cowards are the ones with the faceless channels who go in and defend everything that their internet daddy does. You guys are pathetic, bro. Okay? And I genuinely don't give a fuck about what any of y'all say. Anybody. You know? But I do give a fuck about Duncan Trussell crashing out. Let's get into it.
It's unethical to, as they say, dox people. And I got to say, I agree with that. But, sometimes you have to ask yourself, is anonymity good for people all the time? Maybe sometimes when someone is...
You know what's insane? This is the first clip that I've listened from Duncan Trussell in a long fucking time, bro. The last time I listened to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, and I don't mean this in like a disrespectful way, but it was around the time when like one of his parents passed. It's not funny. It's not a joke. It's not cool. I'm not making fun of him for it. Very sad. Condolences to him. But that was the last time I listened to him. When I listened to him back then, he was a very reasonable hip. I don't know how reasonable a hippie can be, but he was pretty reasonable. You know what I mean? He had good takes. He had interesting things to talk about. He was open-minded. But the problem with open-mindedness is you can open your mind wide enough to cut your dick off. Okay? And Duncan Trussell is, maybe 4 or 5 thoughts away from that. Just saying.
Trapped in anonymity. You free them. You liberate them. You rescue them from a self-imposed prison. And so the video you're about to see, I've worked on it nonstop. It's long, but I figured we could just show it. It's about an hour and a half long. It took me a long time to do nonstop, man. Look at my eyes.
After Elephant Graveyard went full shock and awe on the Rogan sphere, Duncan Trussell was one of the few to actually respond. And honestly, he probably shouldn't have, because his reply wasn't exactly celebrated, even by his own fans. Duncan has always been one of those Rogan sphere comedians who seem to get a pass. He was one of the cool ones, even if you had to wade through the occasional guru gobbledygook. He was one of the few of Joe's friends who publicly warned him that the powers and principalities like Peter Thiel would eventually worm their way into the circle.
Problem is, like, where you're kind of in a bit of a bind is that all this human attention has been placed upon you, and you have to wrestle with your identity because people have decided you're one of the magnifying glasses focusing this beam of attention into the world. And so within that is all...
Oh, and the asshole who's like, oh, stay in your basement. Bitch, I live in Florida. There's no fucking basements in Florida. And anyone who's like, oh, Florida sucks. It didn't suck in 2020 when you all left your fucking states for Texas and Florida, bro. Okay? Don't want to hear it.
All this room for disaster. It's like, who are those people? And what are they up to? And then you start thinking, see, this is what I think about if I were you. Then you start thinking like, man, I've got this podcast that lots of people listen to. Has it ever happened where maybe some really intelligent person has manipulated me in an attempt to get me to disseminate some kind of information out into the world?
Good luck manipulating me, Duncan Trussell. I'm an American.
Look at the lifeless eyes. Look at how little life is behind these eyes. Guys, please, I can't be the only one who sees this shit. Okay? I can't.
American.
That's not a coke snort, by the way. Okay? For anyone who wants to be funny, you know? I don't do coke. But I did last night.
Such a crazy power that if you're not careful, folks from deep, dark wells of perspective are going to infiltrate you.
All those people that are organized, they can come hang out with us. Give me a hug.
You don't want to give them a hug.
But fast forward to today, and Duncan is completely crashing out. Elephant Graveyard hit a little too close to home, calling him out as nothing more than Rogan's emotional support yes man, and also calling out his relationship with Peter Thiel, saying he has the relationship not because he likes the guy, but because he has to for Rogan.
Here's what's fascinating to me about accusing Peter Thiel of being the fucking Antichrist.
Stuff. He's very much
talking awesome. And it was like totally normal dude, obviously super smart. There didn't feel like there was any kind of like subversive anything, nothing to really be scared of.
Hey, isn't like Peter Thiel doing like a whole series about the Antichrist? Like a whole series of speeches about the Antichrist? You know? Thou doth protest too much. Is that how you say it? Yeah, we believe you, bro. Yeah, your girlfriend's at a different school. We got you.
So people say that Peter Thiel is Antichrist, just for argument's sake.
Who says that?
You hear that? He's actually getting mad about this.
Argument's sake.
Who says that?
The reason Dunk's got to do this is because the comedy czar is actually Pete's friend now. So he had to become a new guy to stay in Joe's circle of power, a shriveled husk of a guy, being fed by the demonic umbilical cord attached to the bowels of the comedy czar, from which he can never disengage. He's cooked, finished. And God, look at him. He's just not the same guy.
That's the sizzle.
Look in his eyes. It's obvious.
Yeah, totally normal guy. Totally put together. Just fine. You know, very reasonable man. You know.
Those are suey eyes. Well, that's a confirmed suey for Duncan. Rest in peace, man.
So instead of handling it like the old Duncan, the guy who might have actually laughed at the video or at least given Elephant Graveyard some props for putting together a 90-minute documentary with over 2 million views, he went the other way.
Been working nonstop on this, you guys.
This one.
Yeah, that's it. Let's roll. Pangolins. I mean, what are they? They're cute, but are they evil? Kind of like lizards. I remember pangolins. Yeah.
He's like a quirky goth girl. You know what I mean? He's got the humor of a quirky goth girl. Fucking faggot.
That was when I used to play Hollow Knight. I think there were pangolins in there. Can't wait for Silk Song. Should I buy a Switch for that? Seems crazy. Isn't it going to be on PlayStation? They've added a new cake pop at Starbucks. A raccoon. Or something that is trying to be a raccoon. And yet, look at that poor thing's eyes. It's like it knows It's a simulacrum. Always seeking realness.
Yo, is he okay? Is he fucking okay? Can someone check on this man?
Wanting to be authentic, and yet doomed to forever be a poor imitation. I'm thinking a lot about doors.
Warning, there is no response.
Hey guys, look up the Gemini twin ritual of ancient Egypt. That's what Duncan went through.
In this. This whole video is a lame attempt at a joke as a response to Elephant Graveyard. The jokes don't land and he tries to justify a shift to the right. There is literally no value here. We're actually watching Duncan become what he warned Joe about in real time. 2015 Duncan would have detested 2025 Duncan. The eyes comment definitely got under Duncan's skin. Graveyard posted this on his YouTube. It's come to our attention that people...
Hey, but you know what? Here's a hot take, bro. They never changed. They were always like this. It's just that finally people are seeing them for the guys that they are. You know what I mean? Nothing has changed, bro. Duncan doesn't make different content. He doesn't have different views than he had. He's the same guy. He's the same guy he always was.
People are taking the Duncan Trussell stuff way too far and are harassing and threatening the guy. Can't believe we even have to say this, but we are completely against this unhinged behavior. The point of that segment was to highlight how the talk about the infiltration of independent media he'd been having for years with Rogan suddenly disappeared once his predictions essentially came true. How relationships among media figures affect what gets said and what gets avoided. Never once implied he's working for Pete or his payroll. And to draw that conclusion is really dumb. It's a comedy video for F's sake. Harassing the guy with threats is beyond stupid and completely uncalled for, and if you're into that, please unsub because we ain't about that here. Also, Suey Eyes is now a retired bit. It sucks now. Get outside. So after wasting the time of roughly 44,000 people who tuned in for a response, at the hour
Wow, he still gets 44,000 views. That's insane.
11 mark, Duncan finally gives a response, and only because it was the top question in the chat.
Hey, C4864 says, please address the Elephant Graveyard episode. I'm not sure what that is. Can you send a link? Getting some Harmony Crewman vibes. Thank you
I'm not sure what that is. Can you send a link?
very much.
It's not exactly a good look to passive-aggressively...
Yeah, pay more money with the link in it, and I'll think about watching it and pretend I still don't know what the fuck it is.
mock the guy who just body slammed you. Duncan had the perfect chance to lean into the chaos, maybe even win some people back. You never know. Never let a good crisis go to waste. But instead, he doubled down and made himself look even worse. What really seemed
He's a coward, dude. He's a fucking coward.
to fry Duncan's circuits was Elephant Graveyard calling out his Peter Thiel connection. And the irony is, even Rogan has admitted that Palantir is weird. So Duncan defending it is like trying harder to protect Rogan's reputation than Rogan does. Luckily, we still have Tim Dillon. He's basically the guy in the Rogan sphere willing to describe what's actually...
Thing about Duncan is he should still be washing dishes at Chili's in North Carolina. But, due to being friends with Rogan, you know what I mean? He got to live in his house for however the fuck long and, craft his dick jokes for 20 years. And now he's got like a podcast that hasn't completely fucking failed like everybody else who made a podcast because of Joe Rogan, So he's hanging on to that for dear fucking life. He can't go back to washing dishes at Chili's. He can't!
happening while everyone else slowly morphs into a junior varsity neocon.
Palantir thing is very odd.
A lot of people feel that this is the precursor to a social credit score, a digital kind of police state, and that it's being done under the guise of security, that you will be safer.
Which is what the Patriot Act was brought through with.
That's exactly right. Peter Thiel is giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist.
Yeah, that seems odd.
4-part. Well, here's what's really wild to me. 4 parts. It's not just one. One lecture on the Antichrist would be insane. This guy's doing a series. He's doing a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist, and nobody in his inner orbit.
The Antichrist who brings about the mark of the beast. He can't buy or sell anything without the mark. The guy is giving a speech on that, and he's also one of the guys who started PayPal. Not weird. Not weird at all,
It went, Peter, how about one lecture on the Antichrist or no lectures? Not 4.
Well, I don't think he understands the optics.
He certainly does not.
It's a private lecture at a club. in San Francisco about the Antichrist. What does he know about the Antichrist? Is he like...
I'm guessing a lot. This is like me doing a 4-part lecture on Long Island racism.
Look at Tim breaking the fourth wall. Oh, man.
Just to show everybody, you know...
He looks like a guy I work with named Mike.
Oh, how much I know
He's gay Mike.
about it and how scary it is and how we got to watch out for it. But it's totally not me or anyone I know.
Someone saw one of the lectures that he did on the Antichrist.
Was it good?
It might have been Duncan. He said it was boring.
It's, of course, going to be boring. Didn't O.J. Simpson write a book called If I Did It?
Yeah, I have a copy of it.
So this is...
You know what's funny? You know how like schizophrenic people start thinking that they're Jesus? Maybe rich schizophrenic people start thinking they're the Antichrist. You know what I mean? Because they all fucking do it. Like Elon Musk, he wore that, you know, gay little outfit with the devil on it. You know what I mean? Peter Thiel. I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing as the homeless guy who thinks he's Jesus. It's the super rich guy who thinks he's the Antichrist.
This is Peter Thiel's version of that. His lecture on the Antichrist is If I Did It.
Tim Dillon is the only person speaking truth in comic code. Good that Joe let him question his best friend and future tech.
Yeah, dude, and I appreciate Tim Dillon and people like him. You know what I mean? Even though I don't, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I actually haven't watched Tim's stand up. I used to listen to his podcast all the fucking time because it was pretty funny. Like when Ben was there, and then there was like a weird period of time where like Ben left and the podcast got weird, so I kind of stopped listening to it, and haven't really gone back since. But yeah, I always liked Tim Dillon.
Overlord Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is an anagram
My favorite gay.
of the reptile. It blows my mind that Rogan can't seem to piece this together. Thiel and Elon literally created PayPal, a digital currency, while Elon is also building the chip to put into people's heads. Meanwhile, Thiel is out here giving lectures on the Antichrist. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see how weird that is. Either they're the 2,000-year-old prophecy from Revelation finally rolling out.
I swear, I didn't pre-watch any of this fucking video, guys. I didn't watch this before reacting to it or anything. You know what I mean?
The chip, or they're just LARPing as the prophecy, which is even sadder and way more soy boy lame. Either way,
Yeah, they're psycho rich dudes, and it's the same spectrum. The spectrum of the poor schizophrenic who thinks he's Jesus and the rich schizophrenic who thinks he's the Antichrist. They're both fucking nuts, dude. They're both fucking nuts.
hey, read your freaking Bible. It's kind of insane that Tim Dillon is one of the last bastions of truth in comedy. Meanwhile, Rogan will happily torch anyone poorer than him
At least the homeless guy can't go on Rogan. You know what I mean?
for having the wrong opinion, or for not aligning with his latest karate bro ammonia-huffing worldview. But when it comes to our neocon tech overlords, suddenly he's the picture of restraint. His take on Palantir, a company that hoards data on basically every human being while cashing in on massive warfare contracts was, and I quote, seems a little weird. He says it's weird while the owner of the company can't even decide if the human race should endure.
Would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit.
Should- Yes?
I don't
endure, right?
Decide if the human race should endure.
Would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
Guys, he's so rich that he's above the human race, and he can decide for us. He Man, what a fucking world.
I don't know. I would.
This is a long
Yo, they should have beat the fuck out of this dude way more in school, dude. They should have bullied this dude way more.
hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in
the
this.
human race survive?
Wow, look at his face change. Trying to get the frame by frame.
So many questions implicit in
Should the
this.
human
Look, smile. To death glare. Contempt. Pure contempt. Look at this. Yo, you cannot tell me this isn't an SS officer reincarnated, bro. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look, kind of normal, happy eyes. Look, you can even see when the eyes change, dude. Watch. Look, normal. Looks like your aunt. Looks like your happy aunt. And then watch. The shift right here. Look. Oh my God. Look, he's so happy. Your aunt on Christmas, your gay uncle on Christmas, and then look, boom. Just in a split, in a cunt hairs of a second. Look at this dude. Goes from happy, nice uncle, gay uncle, happy aunt to see you in Christmas, to stone fucking cold. Guys, look at this. This is him talking about he doesn't want, your bloodline to continue. He doesn't want the human race to endure. You know what I mean? He wants to make I don't know what he wants to make. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
But
As the podcast goes on, Tim doesn't hold back from roasting Thiel, and by extension roasting Rogan, because Rogan's silence says it all. He's had Thiel on the podcast before, which we'll get to in a moment. But the problem is obvious. Once Rogan has someone on, he's all of a sudden friends and suddenly can't criticize them, even if it's Peter Thiel.
So pathetic, dude. So fucking pathetic, dude. So pathetic.
A guy who stands for pretty much everything Rogan used to rail against back when the podcast was actually free and good. Now, Joe's apparently fine with billionaires knee-deep in military AI, drone warfare, domestic surveillance, and of course delivering 4-part lectures on the Antichrist. Thiel even hosts dinners and invites Rogan, Duncan, and Tim. Rogan and Duncan happily show up, but Tim actually turned it down. And Rogan's response? He takes a shot at Tim saying, yeah, you'll turn down Thiel, but you'll fly out to Saudi Arabia to do a comedy show?
Boom, and he also didn't do that. He also got he made a joke and then was like canceled from the fucking Saudi Arabian comedy tour. A whole other, I said this is my last video, and it is. I'm not doing a video about that shit because obviously fucking weird, you know what I mean?
Which is a great comeback if your goal is to prove you're completely missing the point.
So strange to have this, you build military AI, military drone.
Yeah, dude, that's true. That is also like a really bad point because it's like, oh, you won't come to this evil dinner, but you'll go to this evil country. Not saying Saudi Arabia is evil, they got their own ways. Don't agree with Islam, you're going to hell. Find Christ. But yeah, that is funny because that means you recognize the weirdness of going to a Peter Thiel dinner, right?
Autonomous drone technology. To export to war zones all over the world. You build domestic surveillance technology to surveil our friends and neighbors. And then your other pet passion is the Antichrist. It's odd.
Didn't you get invited to have lunch or something, or dinner with Peter?
Yes, I said no.
Did you?
I said no.
But wait, Rogan, weren't you invited to the same fucking dinner and actually went? Right? I'm
a little wary of that circle of people. And I'm not saying there's anything inherently evil about them because obviously there's people in there. I don't know that I want to go to a dinner with someone who's going to talk endlessly about the Antichrist.
But yet you'll go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, of course.
You'll go to Saudi Arabia.
I've been to Peter's.
Hey, dude, at least in Saudi Arabia, they're super religious and Muslims and aren't going to, pretend to be the devil. You know what I mean? They're not going to pretend to be evil. You feel me? I don't know, dude.
House twice.
Yeah.
I went once with dinner with Eric Weinstein. I forget who else. And then the second...
with warts. Yo, Eric Weinstein and his brother, dude. Couple retards, dude. What the fuck? Imagine, dude. I can't even, I listen to one thing with them where they're talking about some shit. And, I can't go back and, repeat any of the shit they said because I kind of don't remember because it was so fucking stupid. But yeah, I mean that's my biggest takeaway is that you can go to school your whole fucking life. You can be this pussy who stays in college till you're like 60 and teaching there, You know what I mean? Never do anything with your life and still think that you're someone to listen to. You feel me? The theory of everything. What did he call it? The theory of everything. Shut the fuck up,
Second
dude.
time he brought me
God
in
damn.
because they were going to have lunch with Eric Von Daniken.
It used to just be frustrating listening to Joe. To the normie, he comes off like a complete moron. But the reality is, he knows exactly what's going on. He could be a warrior for truth if he wanted to, but he'd rather stay comfortable in his backyard, shooting arrows while 20 Navy SEALs stand around like it's a Viking cosplay convention. Honestly, he looks about as comfortable with all those big mustached guys as Freddie Mercury did with his own big mustached entourage. The difference is, Freddie was at least
Wow, dude. Wow.
honest about what he enjoyed. For Joe, truth just isn't a priority anymore. Take his episode with the reptile. Thiel gives off the exact same vibes as Musk, or that other lizard, Zuckerberg. It's like they already have the Neuralink chip installed.
Oh, do they all do that thing where they talk super slow and pretend to be so well informed and act like the stupid shit that's coming out of their mouth is thought out, and you would never want to be me. My brain works at 1,000,000 at light speed. Shut up, dude. Shut the fuck up.
And they just got it too early and should have waited for all the bug fixes. Thiel, in particular, has the look like he just ate a ferret. And of course, Rogan presses him on absolutely nothing. Still, the episode does offer some insight into just how much Thiel actually knows, especially about Epstein. On one hand, he casually reveals the truth about how the whole thing works. It's a club, and the blackmail is basically self-imposed. They were volunteers, trading compromise for power. But then, in the same breath, he rules out any foreign involvement and pins it all on being a completely U.S. creation, which immediately makes him lose all credibility.
Nothing more American than the last name Epstein, you know?
I went down all these rabbit holes. Was he, working for the Israelis or the Mossad or all this sort of stuff? And I've come to think that was very...
No, he totally wasn't. Ghislaine Maxwell totally wasn't a Nepo baby that was put in there by her dad. You know what I mean? It's totally above board, totally normal. Just a dude with an island.
Very secondary. It was obviously, it was just the U.S. If you're working for Israel, you don't get protected.
Well, yeah, it was just the U.S. And also, I guess, Prince Andrew, the fucking dumbass. I don't even sweat. Yo, if that interview doesn't make you realize how insane the royals and elites are, I don't know what will, dude. You don't have to believe any conspiracies to see that interview and have your takeaway be more aligned with conspiracy theorists than not. The Prince Andrew interview, I don't even sweat. You buffoon. You idiot. That shit actually makes me mad because it's like, you can imagine this dude's entire life being a little prince boy, you know what I mean? And then he becomes a fucking pedophile. You know what I mean? I don't know, dude. Shit's it's disturbing on so many levels. It's disturbing. And to say that, oh yeah, it's totally self-imposed blackmail. They were so okay, the self-imposed blackmail. So that means that they weren't actually getting blackmailed. You just gotta fuck kids to get into power, right? Is that the breakdown? You know what I mean? That's actually worse. You know what I mean?
Protected. We had Jonathan Pollard. He went to jail for 25 years or whatever.
But unrelated.
Right? Understood. But it's.
Rogan looks like the fucking droopy dog. What the fuck is up with your face?
But this is one particular operation.
But this is one particular operation.
But so it's
he's turning into Joey Diaz.
But it was if it was an intelligence operation, the question we should be asking is what part of the U.S. intelligence system was he working for? Was he working for,
But don't you think that's an effective strategy for controlling politicians?
I'm sure that was part of it.
Is that what you'd set up, Joe, to control politicians? That's what you'd set up as your control system?
I suspect there are a lot of other questions that one should also
most
ask.
certainly. But I would think that is one of the best motivators that we have.
My riff on it was always that it's a little bit different from the J. Edgar Hoover thing, and the question was always whether the people doing it knew they were getting compromised. And so it's the vibe is not that.
Hold on. You don't know if the people knew they were being compromised, so how do you control someone who doesn't know they're compromised and thinks they're doing shit that they're getting away with? Where's the control system without the reveal? How does that work? Peter Thiel, tell us.
You somehow got compromised. It was more you were joining this secret club.
Right.
You got to
Sure.
be made.
Yeah, sure. And that's kind of worse. That's kind of worse because it means that you weren't blackmail. Look, I already said it. I'm not going to say it again because I kind of don't want to get banned. You know what I mean? But it's kind of worse, bro. It's kind of worse.
You're a made man in the mafia.
And you get to do crazy things.
No. It's only if we have compromise on you do you get ahead.
That's all I got.
Yeah, true. Anyway, all you Rogan cock holsters, hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave hateful comments in the comments section. If you enjoyed my reaction to this, you can like, but you don't have to sub because I'm not doing any more Rogan content. Unless I'm, kind of. No, I'm never doing Rogan content again. How about that? Because you guys are too emotional about this this very tall, very funny comedian guy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.